Tonight's big stories. President Marcos lifts the price ceiling on rice about a month after it was implemented. Senate President Mig Zubiri says it's time for the president to crack the whip and replace some cabinet members.
The Coast Guard says it was an oil tanker registered under the flag of the Marshall Islands. It is the likely vessel that collided with a Filipino fishing boat in the South China Sea, which killed 3 fishermen.
And we still can't get enough of Ces Drilon. Broadcast journalist Ces Drilon will be joining us live in the studio to talk about her viral milk tea commercial.
Welcome to the show. I'm Regina.
I'm Gretchen.
And I'm Shawn. All right, I know we have a lot to talk about today. So let's start off with a quick weather report. We are continuing to monitor Typhoon Jenny as it continues to move across extreme northern Luzon. At 4 p.m. today, Jenny was spotted at 165 kilometers north-northeast of Itbayat in Batanes. It is packing wind speeds of 155 to 190 kilometers per hour. This typhoon is currently moving westward at 15 kilometers per hour. Pag-asa says there is a possibility that it will make landfall on the southern portion of Taiwan tomorrow morning and exit the Philippine area of responsibility by tomorrow afternoon. But for now, tropical cyclone wind signal number 3 is up over the northern portion of Itbayat, Batanes. The rest of Batanes and the northern portion of the Babuyan Islands are under signal number 2. Meanwhile, the rest of the Babuyan Islands, parts of mainland Cagayan, Apayao, and Ilocos Norte are under storm signal number 1. On the other hand, the southwest monsoon is seen to bring scattered rain showers and thunderstorms over Metro Manila, Calabarzon, Zambales, Bataan, Occidental Mindoro, the northern portion of Palawan, the rest of Central Luzon, and the rest of Mimaropa.
After nearly a month, the government has decided to lift the price cap on rice. President Marcos announced today the lifting of the ceiling a day after meeting officials from the Agriculture and Trade departments. Both agencies earlier recommended to lift the cap already after reports apparently showed favorable results on the ground. The cap was imposed last month in a bid to bring down rice prices and weed out price manipulators. Now, recall that a recent Pulse Asia survey showed that more than half of Filipinos are not satisfied with the government's efforts to rein in inflation. Also, a separate survey showed President Marcos suffered a significant drop in his trust and approval ratings in the period from September 10 to 14. When asked about it, the president had this to say.
It's not surprising. People are having a hard time. Because yung hirap na bigas ito eh. Ibang usapan pag bigas. It's different from anything else that any other agricultural product.
That's surprisingly candid, which I appreciate. He acknowledges that, yes, okay, well, that's not surprising that
in fairness to the
approval
president,
ratings dropped.
Right, and the president has been, okay, mahirap siyang habulin for interviews, but he is quite candid and has surprised, I think, a lot of his detractors and also a lot lot of people. And one of the more controversial issues, of course, is this price cap and how he dealt with the problem in the price of rice. Ito sabi ni Secretary Benjok, no, hindi daw sila na-consult
yes,
about it.
they were
in
shocked.
Japan,
That's
they were
right.
shocked, they were abroad.
Pero sabi rin niya na parang their job lang is to give recommendations. Depende na sa presidente kung susunod.
That's right.
And more than that, diba? Naku, may natanggal pang isang DOF Usec.
We're talking about Usec Magno, who was, of course, vocal on social media, but then we found out through interviews with her here in One News that turns out there had been efforts to push her out as
Even
early as
before
July. That's right.
I feel like it's an economics lesson in real life.
Pero ito, no, wala na nga si Shawn Magno sa cabinet, but she still had this latest statement to say. She said the price cap was not beneficial to consumers because the price of rice remained high. The government had no capacity to monitor all rice retailers.
Aside from the lifting of the price cap on rice, PBBM also named 4 groups allegedly involved in rice smuggling. These are San Pedro Warehouse, Blue Sakura Agrigain Corporation, FS Ostia Rice Mill, and Gold Rush Rice Mill. They are facing complaints in violation of the Customs Modernization and Tariff Act. the Rice Tarification Law and the Anti-Agricultural Smuggling Act of 2016. I also remember in the news the other day, those who smuggled carrots back in 2020, finally.
Ngayon pa lang.
Oh, ngayon pa lang.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean,
Better late than
I guess
never.
there's also pressure on government to come up with
That's right. Some
actual
names. That's
Yeah.
right. That's
And
right.
to prosecute
Yeah.
all these so-called economic saboteurs. The question now, though, is did that price cap work at least in the past month? Let's ask that to News 5 correspondent Shaila Francisco. Shaila, what are prices looking like right now?
Shawn, before the lifting of the price cap, we saw these prices for regular and well-milled rice. Based on the latest monitoring of the Agriculture Department, prices of regular milled rice have gone down by as much as 8 pesos per kilo and 5 pesos per well-milled rice. This is after the government imposed the price ceiling last month. While this is good news for some consumers, others can't help but worry that without a price cap, prices would once again go up. But other retailers beg to differ. In fact, the group Prism sees rice prices going down further by as much as 3 pesos per kilo with the expected supply from the local harvest. Shawn, for now, agricultural groups are hoping that even without a price cap, the government would continue to go after smugglers, hoarders, and cartels. Shawn?
All right, thank you for that update, Shaila Francisco.
Now, here to help us make sense of the issue, we have former DA Undersecretary for Policy and Planning, Fermin Adriano. Mr. Adriano is also a fellow at the Foundation for Economic Freedom. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Good evening to you and to your viewers.
Okay, Mr. Adriano, this price cap was meant to go after hoarders, manipulators, to punish them. After a month of having the price cap, do you think we achieved, or the government achieved rather, the objectives?
Yeah, that was the objective, is really to go after the price manipulators, because based on the DA data, we have enough supply of rice. The problem is that the rice prices keep on rising because of speculation mainly. And this is actually happening more, if you look at it, if you monitor prices, happening in Metro Manila, where you have the concentration of traders. In the provinces, the price of rice are lower because the market seems to work more freely in the provinces outliers, but not in Metro Manila. So it had the effect of intimidating price manipulators at the outset, but it cannot be sustained for the simple reason that the supply of the what we call the regular milled rice (RMR) and well milled rice are quite limited. So I think this is high time. I think the government has made the right decision to lift the price cap.
All right,
In short, it didn't do anything, though.
yeah, I was going to ask that. Do you think that there was some sort of actual impact now that this is done and lifted?
It somehow sent the message to speculators, but the problem is that whether that RMR or regular milled rice or well milled rice are available in in most of the stores. Unfortunately, they are not, because of the shortage in the supply, because the traders will lose money selling them. That's the problem. And during that duration, to that 1 month, there is actually a shift to the procurement of what we call special or premium rice, which are not under the price cap. So makikita nyo, di ba? You look at the prices, 45, 50, 50. And a lot of our consumers are saying that this is the more palatable variety rather than buying 41 and 45.
Do you think, Mr. Adriano, that there is another reason for lifting the price cap? I mean, on one hand, it is, of course, a persecution of the price manipulators. On the other hand, it's as simple as, cheaper rice for everybody. What do you think? Is it really because naging mas mura na ang presyo ng rice? Is it the harvest season? What other factors could have led to the lifting of the ceiling?
Well, it's mainly because of the fact that the initial impact of the price cap is to lower the farm gate price of palay or unhashed rice, because you put a ceiling, therefore it percolates downward to the value chain. So that and that's the reason why for the initial round of effect of the price cap, the prices went as far as 15 to 16 pesos. But I was talking to some of the technicians of rice. They were saying that it was only good for a few days, but eventually it led back to a higher price because of the fact that there's really a shortage of supply of that particular variety. And therefore the effect is really short term. And it to lead that because October is the peak harvest season. Supposedly, if you look at the trend, the rice price trend, normally it goes down at this starting this month up to early December because this is the peak harvest season of the wet harvest season of rice. So the supply is quite plentiful, and therefore, naturally, prices will go down. If you still have that price cap, that will give it an extra push downward. So the farmers will be hit hard, particularly if that price cap is still there, because the traders will use that as a basis for saying that this is how much amount that I can only buy you. If it's 41 pesos, I will buy it about 20 or lesser, or 20 and the same 45. Now the price right now for wet palay is about 19 to 20, and for dry palay, which they have which the NFA requires, it's about above 23 pesos. So it's very competitive right now in terms of the prices, and that's the reason why a lot of our rice farmers are happy. But although the problem with that is that it might not be beneficial to our consumers because the prices are still high.
Recently resigned Finance Undersecretary Shawn says the rice price ceiling did not work because the government couldn't possibly have monitored all of the rice retailers in the country. Mr. Adriano, you were Undersecretary for Policy and Planning during your time in the Agriculture Department. Can you paint us a picture of what it's like to monitor retailers? Does the government really have the capacity or not?
It has the capacity because we have the so-called PRISM project. It's a digital-based project. We can monitor it all over the country. But I'm not too sure about the results of the actual survey that they have done. The monitoring of the DA, if you look at it, largely, particularly the Agriculture Marketing Assistance Division, is confined to 12 wet markets in the country. They do not go below that, you know. So if you want a more comprehensive picture, you will have to go to the provinces, etc., etc. But the problem is the price monitoring for most of the products, including rice, is the sample is about 12 large wet markets in the country, in Metro Manila. That's and therefore, related to that, it is extremely difficult really to monitor all of the prices. But there is a benchmark price that is being done by PRISM, and it shows you already indicates the price trend at the level of the region and even provinces. And if you look at the data, the provinces have lower rice prices than Metro Manila because of the presence of collusion of price speculators in the city because it's the largest market.
You mean to say the data that they're holding on to right now is still NCR-centric?
Mostly, yes, ma'am. Mostly. Like when they look at fish, vegetables, chicken, pork, etc., 12 yung sites, wet market.
Sir, what are learnings in terms of enforcement? Kasi monitoring is one thing, enforcement is another. Meron po mga tindahan, di na lang nagbebenta, nagsasara na lang sila. May iba parang natatakot kasi mamaya hinalo yung yung rice sa ibang variant. I mean, what are our lessons in terms of implementing price caps for the future?
I mean, if you're an economist, I don't think any of the economists will recommend a price cap. In fact, if this was even divulged by our economic managers, they said that they were not consulted because you want a policy instrument which is sustainable, which is not a one-shot deal and then afterwards you leave it or something like that. You want a sustainable policy instrument, and a sustainable policy instrument is wherein it observes market forces. You play along with the market forces. Sorry. And that is the reason why we have been advocating before that we should just reduce the tariff or even lift the tariff. That's a market instrument, policy-based market instrument, because that's more sustainable so that we can lower. The problem right now is that our prices are influenced by international high prices of the rice in the global market, whereas before, the global rice prices are lower than us, including tariff. Now it's no longer, it's the reverse. International rice prices are high, plus the tariff that they pay, 35%, than the local prices. And because we significantly import rice, about 20% of our requirements, about 20%, that means it can influence the rice prices here. So what
Pero,
we're saying
Mr.
is that we can use that policy instrument of reducing tariff because that's more sustainable. In fact, we were even saying, if, but this is already at hindsight, if the president just announced, even before deciding on the price cap, to say, declare that we are contemplating or reducing the tariff or removing the tariff, I think that will be a clear signal to the price manipulators that you cannot just hoard, because otherwise they will lose money because of the lower price cheap import, because of the lower tariff that you impose. Unfortunately, they make the decision, so it is unsustainable. Remember, we even subsidize the retailers, di ba? And then the 41 and 45 price rice, there seems to be a shortage nawawala, di ba? So it's not sustainable. If you prolong it, you cannot really sustain it because of the fact that it is not reflective of the true market price or value of rice in the market. And the
Pero,
problem
Mr.
right
Adriano,
now that we're facing, if you want to complicate it, is that the prices of palay and therefore rice during the peak harvest season tend to go down. It is not going down now. We're presume saying that that's the Association of Price Tier Retailers. It will go down. Let's watch and see whether it's go down. Because if it's not going down dramatically in October and November, that means it will still, the prices will increase by December, particularly the first quarter of next year, because that's a planting season. There's no harvest. And plus the factor of El Nino, that means there will be a tendency for a dramatic increase in prices towards December and next first quarter of the year if we don't have ample inventory or rice supply.
Right. Let's try to look at it from
Yun ang
the other
problema
side.
kasi hindi
Mr.
bumababa
Adriano.
ngayon eh. Di ba?
Yes. Yes,
Which is the
sir.
peak harvest season.
Pero yung nga yung sinasabi kasi nila nung administration, no, ni Presidente, ang sabi niya kasi, ayaw niya ibaba or tanggalin or putuli or bawasan yung tariff sa rice because it will affect revenue which goes into social services. Of course, if you hear that argument, on the shallow level, it makes sense. What are your
And
thoughts
then
on that?
also the other argument against lowering of tariffs is that the local farmers won't be able to compete, right? They say that squeezes them out of the market because obviously the quality of imported rice is much better than what they can produce.
That was in the past because as I was saying, the price of rice in the global market is cheaper. But because of Ukraine, because of the increase in petrol prices, because of India's export ban, the price in the international market have actually increased significantly. And then if you allow them to enter, here the country is about $600, $650 per metric ton. You impose a 35% tariff, that means it comes in at $1,000 per metric ton. And therefore, it is more expensive than our local price. As I was saying earlier, it is the one driving or pulling up the price, the local prices, because our local traders are saying, "Oh, you're using that as a benchmark, and therefore we will have to increase our prices, even if the prices here is relatively low than the world prices." But if you remove the tariff, then imported rice will become equivalent to about 12 milled rice.
Pumapantay na.
So, and therefore will become competitive. That's what we're saying. And about the tariff, the tariff is a result of the rice tariffication law. Under the rice tariffication law, there is a sum set aside for the so-called rice competitive enhancement fund, which is an adjustment for our farmers who will be affected by deliberalization. The 35% tariff, if you generate money from the tariff, 10 billion of that will be given to the farmers as assistance for modernization. Fortunately for us, because we have been importing, instead of just collecting last year 10 billion, we have actually collected 22 billion. Ito po yung sinasabi ni Presidente na 12 billion should be given for cash assistance. And that's the result of the rice tariffication law. Ang sinasabi nila, if you remove the tariff, there will be no more tariff proceeds. What we're saying is that this polling instrument is not a permanent one. It is a short-term response to an emergency measure because we see that the supply will tighten towards the end of this year, particularly the first quarter of the year, because there will be El Nino. So we need to to make our stock robust by that time, so that we will have no shortage of rice during. Because you need about 2 to 3 million metric tons of rice as an ending stock in December. Kasi yan yung tinatawag natin 60 to 90 days. Why? Because planting season po yung first quarter, walang harvest. So in other words, prices will increase. So if you don't have a robust ending stock, prices will just dramatically increase. What we have seen in June, July, August, because this is the planting season.
Right. Okay.
Yung po inaaboy na. But the thing is, our tariff reduction, we're saying 6 months lang.
Yes. Okay.
Para bumaba yung presyo ng imported so that we can import as much as we can and build our stock.
Right.
Wala pong ano yun lang, simple lang.
Thanks
But
for
it's not a
explaining,
permanent thing. So, maybe
so
you can
well.
impose it.
Okay.
Tariff will be, di ba?
Okay, maraming
It's
salamat
commonsensical,
po.
ma'am.
Oo. Thank you so much for explaining that to us and for joining us tonight. Former DA Usec
Yes, ma'am.
Fermin Adriano. So yun nga, 70, actually sabi ni PBBM, 70 days na raw yung buffer stock natin.
That's right.
I think it was also a whipping on the traders, manipulators.
Takot no?
Yun.
Okay, before we go on break, I have a juicy blind item for you guys. So Senate President Mig Zubiri today held a press conference, right? And he was asked about a number of issues. And at one point, he was asked about that recent Pulse Asia survey. You guys know about
About
it,
the
right?
approval and trust ratings.
Not just of the president,
And the
but
inflation.
all three heads of government saw their approval ratings drop, right? So he was asked about it, and this is what he had to say. Take a listen.
Suggestion ko sa ating Pangulo to crack the whip with this cabinet. Lalo na yung mga poorly performing members of the cabinet na imbis na tumulong ay lalong napeperwisyo ang ating Pangulo. I mean, if the problem is inflation, then look at the agencies that is supposed to trace and track why there's overpricing, for example. Bakit nagkakaroon ng overpricing? Bakit po nagkakaroon ng hoarding? Bakit wala pong nahuhuling hoarders? Bakit wala pang pinapagalitan na price manipulators on the market side? Off the top of my mind, I would say about three or four departments.
Oh yeah, and I'm gonna leave you with that food for thought. Who are these 3 or 4
3 to
departments
4.
that he's referring to? I have no
guesses
idea
at the
this
moment, but
point.
also so many guesses.
But that's the Senate President for you. Okay, we're gonna pause for a quick one right now. But up next.
The Philippine Coast Guard is going after the foreign vessel that rammed a Filipino fishing boat and killed 3 fishermen on Monday. The details when we return. You're watching the big story here on One News. Our other big story for the night. 3 Filipino fishermen died after their boat was rammed by a foreign vessel near Scarborough Shoal. Here's the latest on that investigation. The Coast Guard says the incident took place Monday around 4 a.m. while the Philippine fishing boat FFB Deereen was moored to a payao or anchored fish float some 85 nautical miles northwest of Bajo de Masinloc. Now, aboard the boat were 6 fishermen, including the captain. Other members of their team were aboard smaller boats. The weather was so bad at the time, so the Filipino fishermen did not notice a huge foreign vessel approaching them. The foreign vessel was identified as Pacific Anna, a crude oil tanker. Pacific Anna collided with the fishing boat and immediately fled the scene. The FFB Deereen capsized due to that hit-and-run incident. The maritime incident left 3 fishermen dead, including the captain. Because of the bad weather, it took the other crew members at least 4 hours to find out what had happened to the victims. Here's the account of one of the 11 survivors.
Ma'am, pag kuwang ko, nandiyan na po talaga yung barko. Hindi po namin napansin, kaya wala na. Nabangga po agad kami. Tumaob diretso, ma'am.
Barko, sir, gaano kalaki?
Malaki po, ma'am, dahil halos nakatingala po ako, ma'am. Talagang pagsakan po, mataas pa po sa puste ng ma'am, kurente.
Nakita niyo ba kayo, sir?
Ewan ko lang po, ma'am. Siyempre, may ilaw naman po kami. Pero baka hindi rin siguro, ma'am. Malakas nga po yung ulan. Hindi ko rin po sigurado kung anong nakita kami ng kapitan.
So, hindi sila huminto, sir?
Hindi po, dire-diretso lang po sila.
So what do we know about this foreign vessel? Well, the PCG says that based on information from Maritime Traffic, the Pacific Anna was registered under the flag of the Marshall Islands. We have PCG spokesperson Armand Balillo saying that it is possible that the oil tanker was not able to see the FFB Deereen dahil madilim nga at masama ang panahon gaya ng sinabi ng fisherman. But they're still investigating whether or not this collision was actually an accident or if it was intentional. Here's the rest of what Admiral Balillo had to say.
Kausap yung mga fishermen at yun nga tumutugma doon sa Pacificana ang description nila. Pero kailangan pa natin itong i-corroborate. Mahirap magturo sa kasalukuyan. Hindi po dapat tayo magturo muna. Kailangan matapos ng mabilis at extensive yung ating investigation. At yan naman po ang ginagawa natin.
In a post on social media site X, President Marcos vowed that the government will hold accountable those responsible for this maritime incident. He also assured the victims and their families that the government will provide them support and assistance. The bodies of the fishermen who lost their lives in that maritime incident have been transported to Subic from Infanta, Pangasinan. We have Jenny Dongon reporting for us. Jenny, what do you have?
Reg, the bodies of the 3 fishermen who died in maritime incident arrived here in Subic, Zambales around 3:30 in the afternoon. The families of the victims were too distraught as they watched their loved ones arrive in coffins. This far from the joyous reunion that the families expected today after the fishermen spent weeks out at sea.
Bakit ganito po kami iniwan, Papa? Hindi ka namin maninayan.
The children of 63-year-old Tatay Benedicto were too upset to even speak, and all they could do at the moment was embrace the coffin of their father. Benedicto's wife, Nanay Mercedes, said her husband was supposed to retire after this last trip. But little did she know that it will end in tragedy.
Itong laot nilang to, inaasahan namin nga na pag-uwi, siyempre may paggagastos. Ganyan naman po umano sa amin. Yun ang balita, namatay naman po. Siya lang po inaasahan namin na maghanap buhay dito. Kaya kahit na may edad na po, naghahanap buhay pa.
Their family also do not have enough funds to shoulder funeral costs. And so Nanay Mercedes is asking the government for some support. Reg, around 3:30 in the afternoon, 11 survivors in the maritime incident also arrived here in Subic, Zambales. Reg.
Okay, thanks for that update, Jenny Dongon.
Global brain edema. That's believed to be the cause of death of the grade 5 student who passed away days after allegedly being slapped by his teacher in Antipolo City. The death certificate of 14-year-old Francis J. Gumikib said global brain edema or brain swelling was the immediate cause or primary reason for his death. Listed as another possible cause or antecedent cause is acute intraparenchymal hemorrhage or bleeding within the brain tissue. It is also stated in the portion labeled Other Significant Conditions Contributing to Death, Presumptive Pulmonary Tuberculosis, and Child Physical Abuse. However, forensic pathologist Dr. Raquel Fortun said she is confused by the details in Francis' death certificate. Fortun added that an autopsy on the body will determine the true cause of his death.
Sinasabi niya may hemorrhage pero hindi ini-explain paano nakuha yung hemorrhage na yon. And because of this, ito yung first line, yung antecedent, nilagay global brain edema. Basically, what this says is namaga yung brain. Common problem sa utak, and unfortunately, yun yung effect, mamamaga yung utak, it's encased in your skull, wala masyadong lugar para, mag-expand siya. Okay. But then, that doesn't explain how he died. Hindi sinasabi kung yung hemorrhage ba sa brain ay due to trauma.
Truly very stressful stuff. We're gonna take a quick break, but right after that, makakapag-distress tayong lahat with our next guest. We will have veteran broadcast journalist Ces Drilon to talk about her viral commercial that has got everyone talking and drinking. Don't miss that.
Welcome back. You're still watching Big Story here on One News. At this point, right, who hasn't seen that viral cocoa advertisement? For those that haven't, what rock have you been living under? But anyways, let's roll a quick video of that commercial.
pa ako dito. Buti na lang, hindi ko nasagasaan.
Of course, that was renowned journalist and host Ces Drilon, who took on a fresh role as the newest representative for Taiwan-based fresh tea and beverage company Coco. Drilon introduces us to Stress Drilon, a whimsical persona inspired by the everyday pressures we all experience. And after all the hardships she faced in the day, Ces ultimately chose to chill out and savor the flavor of her milk tea beverages. Netizens on social media found the performance of the journalist entertaining, describing it as clever and skillfully carried out. Well, joining us now in studio is none other than the star of this viral advertisement, seasoned broadcast journalist, Ces Drilon.
Hello!
Hi!
Welcome to the big story.
Thank you for having
Hindi ka
me.
naman stressed tonight.
Current mood is not stress.
It's like you
Drilon.
released it all there.
Current mood stress.
Drilon. Stress Drilon.
That's my
I
t-shirt.
know, I love it. You're very on message today.
Tell us all about the ad. I mean, just seeing you do that. How many takes did the...
Not much.
How many days?
Siguro
That's quite a
one
long
day
ad.
lang.
Wow.
But siguro the most was with Theo the dog. Because they were teasing Theo, parang he was shy. There was a scene that was supposed to be there that was not included. He was supposed to come out earlier, like parang there was a foretelling of our encounter. Like when I'm leaving home, he's supposed to keep barking at me and I'm like shooing him away. Kaya lang parang nadyajahe si Theo sa akin. He was like shy. He wouldn't bark.
So he wasn't your dog.
I know
He
you
wasn't-
have dogs.
Yeah, but they won't bark at me, right?
Okay, pinasok
but
na
Theo
yung
is a
milk
famous
tea.
dog.
Oh,
He's
speaking
like,
of
he has a
interesting.
TikTok account.
Pinasok
Wow!
na. Because
Also, do I
we
show
want
you how to
see
stab
you
it?
to see how you do it.
We want to
Yeah,
see.
but first, you know, my fingernails are so dirty because I came from a perfumery camp and I harvested turmeric. So it's like my
But
nails
for
are
those who don't
yellow.
know, she's
Don't
busy with
close
that.
up on
She's
my
busy-
nails.
She's busy with farming.
With farming.
She's busy with her
So-
business on
Wait,
stage.
now you have to close your eyes and think of something that triggers you, and then let's see you do it. Come on, stab it.
We're going to watch this and take some cues.
Wala pa sa gitna!
You know, she's so convincing when she does that. And she does it so emphatically. What was on your mind? I mean, through
don't
those,
ask
playing
me.
through those
She
asked
had to
me.
think, you know what I was telling them? I'm kind of chill na these days. Not like before when like, you know, super pressure. So I really had to think of all these situations. And some of my cuss words were English. And they said, Ma'am, Tagalog lang. Kasi biblip-blip nila eh.
Wait, which situations? Back when you were in the news?
No.
After? Okay. In the pandemic.
Yes, pandemic situation.
Okay, alam na natin yan.
Hindi ko alam.
Hindi niya alam.
You have to fill me
Hindi
in.
nyo
Sorry.
alam.
Hindi mo alam.
Walang
Ren.
nakakaalam.
Fill in the blanks. Ang daya
No,
nito
the
dalawa. You
pandemic
guys
was
have
a
to fill in the
stressful,
blanks.
I lost my job. Diba? I was one of the first, I was in the first wave of retrenchment.
Bandila?
In ABS.
Bandila.
No, I gave up
Sa ano nga
Bandila.
pala, sa lifestyle?
Yes.
But you know what shocked me most of all about your viral commercial? I've been watching you on TV for so long. And I was like, oh my God, ang galing niya umarte.
I know.
Where did that come from?
Because that's so hard to pull off. I mean, I've shot several of these commercials, and
It's hard.
I don't think I can do it as natural as you do.
Magaling talaga ako. I didn't know I had that hidden talent. No, I had some practice because I actually I was supposed to appear in a BL series. It just didn't push through.
When was this?
Last year. But I filmed the teaser. My character was the mother of the star. So I acted out like, you know, there was acting, there was a workshop, so that kind of already prepared me for this one, I think.
Yeah.
And then, but the assistant director was good in, you know, getting me to say the lines. Because sometimes when you're saying a line, di ba, it's like you're reciting.
Or like you're doing a spiel.
Yeah,
Oh, no.
yeah.
Hold
So
on a second. Did they write this commercial with you in mind?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was really meant for me. For me.
Did you collaborate? Did you collaborate on the themes
No,
or what you wanted to put in?
I was surprised when Ranvel Rufino, my manager, said they want to use stress drill, and I was surprised because I thought, it's kind of old. So the people who use it are medyo old.
AKA kaming dalawa dito.
Hindi na yung nasa batch mo, may mga Gen Z na, di ba? Gen Z ka ba? Millennial ka.
Pwedeng pumasa dalawa.
Ayaw mami.
Ayaw! Pilipinan. So, pwede naman Tagalog dito. This is an English newscast.
Pwede magtagalog.
But it's cool, that you're saying the news on a couch.
Sir Patrick Paes, shout out
I
po siya.
love the
Cheers,
idea. Did he treat us to this?
We hope so. We're gonna send him the bill later
Kung
on.
naman, sana you sent us. You should have told them that you were...
Don't worry, I think he's
But in
watching,
any
so,
case, you took 1 day to shoot that. Ang galing
Siguro
naman.
mga
8 hours?
mga 14, 15 hours siguro.
How was Stress Drilon coined? And do you remember a specific moment or a specific person?
It was RG Cruz who told me, our
ano
colleague in ABS-CBN. There was parang, I don't remember, basta he said, "Oy, made ka na kasi part ka ng Becky Mon, Becky Speak." Yeah. And then I remember there was, I don't know where this test was actually given, but among the multiple choice was Stress Drilon. Among the multiple choice answers.
Those are the Instagram quizzes. I'm so good in speaking Becky. So I always do that Instagram. Parang siyang Pinoy henyo. Then you translate, what does it mean? Example, stress drilon, stress. Ganyan.
Ano pa ba yung iba?
Stress Drilon,
Yung mga iba medyo medyo, sabihin ko ba, like Kuala Lumpur, mga ganyan, may Victory Liners. Medyo not safe for work yung mga iba. Natawa siya na. Ang sama
Kuala Lumpur, ngayon ko lang narinig yan.
You know,
so part yun nung whole
my first
glossary.
thought after seeing that ad was like, I was so happy for you that you're cashing in finally.
Yeah, exactly.
On Stress Drilon?
Actually, TJ Manotok was the first one who said that and posted the ad on
That's true,
Twitter.
that's true. But that was also on my mind.
Parang,
Finally.
sa wakas, no?
Oo.
Kasi one time, there was an ad about, but it's not that I would do it, parang aping a newscaster's voice and using stress, but it was for, parang, what you would take if you have LBM.
Okay.
So it's not that, di ba?
Yeah, parang huwag naman ganon,
Oo,
guys.
huwag naman ganon.
Huwag naman ganon. But no, a lot of people have probably cashed in on Stress Drilon before you. There's shirts like the one you're wearing right now.
but
I
this
hope you're
is
cashing in on that.
Oh yeah, this is a collab. Look naman, oh. Where does it say? Somewhere here.
Does it have your
It has your
signature?
autograph.
Yes,
Yeah.
my signature. Yeah, because it came at a time when we were still in the midst of the pandemic and everybody was so stressed. So we thought this was perfect. And now that it's again, parang younger people are using Stress Drilon, Linya Linya and I decided to reissue it.
Have you met somebody who uses the words or the term Stress Drilon but does not know who Stress Drilon is?
I don't know. But you know who calls, actually, only one person really calls me like stress. Stress
To
lang.
your face.
Yeah.
Who is
But
this
he passed
person?
away na Pepito. Albert would like call me, "Hoy, stress! Yeah, stress! Call me naman." Stress talaga as in. He's the only one. No one else would,
one had the
I guess,
gall.
dare.
So now you said you're open to acting? Now that we've discovered your hidden talent?
And it's
Sorry.
like,
And you already
I'm
almost...
fixing my lapel mic, which is kind of
and it's
what
a
happened.
journalism life. Would you say you're leaving that behind already? Or
Which
is it
one? Stress?
The journalism life.
No!
I know
Still
you have
into
a
it.
show
I
with
do
the
Usapang
Billionario. Yeah, Billionario.com.
with the Billionario group. I can't be heard. There's something wrong. I don't know what's happening.
It's, I think it was hitting your neck.
I
there,
should
yeah.
stop holding it.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
gitna, because my words cannot be heard. Okay. There you go. Yeah. So I'm working with the Billionario site. You must be familiar with it.
You're already on season 2.
Yes, yes.
And it airs
you
on-
can catch the longer version on Billionario Digital. I can mention other stations here.
Yeah.
CNN.
I guess.
CNN. But yeah, it airs on CNN, on
Yeah,
TV,
yeah, yeah,
and on the website.
Every Monday is our initial airing. Replays are on Saturday and Sunday. Thank you for asking. Yeah, we're in season 2. It took a while because, you know, I'm used to working with a big production team and ganyan, but here we're very lean, and so it kind of
How do you
took
find
time.
that? Do you like it more that
It's
you're
very
lean?
stress-driven. Ay, dati, you know, you're used to having so many
Oh
people
no, it's
helping you.
changed now.
You know what I love about her is
now
that
you go out on field shoots and it's
Yeah.
like one person holding the camera and doing everything.
Well, that, but the production side, the putting together everything.
You're part of it too.
Yeah.
Sorry,
She's
Gretchen,
also
she-
present on Kumu. What I love about her is that she's not afraid to reinvent.
To try new
To
things.
try new things. As I mentioned, mas marunong pa siya magkumu sa akin.
Oh my gosh.
Pero I don't
Marunong
do
nun.
it much na eh.
Not anymore. But what are you excited for in this next chapter in your life after ABS-CBN?
Well, farming. I want to be able to become an herb queen. I mean, like really propagate a lot and sell.
What are your favorite herbs?
Oh, you know, it started because I love to cook. And di ba when I moved to my condo 12 years ago, it was hard to find herbs in supermarkets. Like if you wanted thyme, for instance,
that's
voila! Or you have to buy so much and you only need so
Sayang
little.
yung
So,
iba.
You waste
so
the
either-
rest,
I
yeah.
love parsley, thyme, all those things that really put flavor in your dishes. Sage, of course, because I also use it in my smudge sticks. Yeah.
To cleanse the air.
Benta na yun, bago yung business.
Yeah.
Sage. Selling sage.
See, yung smudge
I
sticks
make
na...
smudge sticks. It's like a
You
like
light
an
up.
I know what
essence.
smudge sticks are.
Okay. You do?
Yeah,
I'll
Isa
give you
smudge stick
girls.
ka rin.
Bibili ako. No, I'll buy.
No, because
Provinciana.
nakakatanggal din yun ng
Is this-
stress eh. Yung smudge stick.
Oh, yeah.
It clears the aura. Yeah, serious to Oo, I also use smudge sticks and it smells good.
Yeah.
You know?
And it invites positivity into your
Good energy.
space, your life. Yeah, you.
But you also mentioned that your nails are dirty because you were up in turmeric.
I know.
I like turmeric. It fights inflammation. So I try to take a supplement here and there if I remember.
Because I put it also in the smudge stick. Well, today our exercise was we were foraging in the farm for things that you can put in your smudge stick, which is actually what you can do. You don't have to buy, but it would be better if you buy from Provinciana.
Okay, note that.
So that's the name. Provinciana.
Yes.
Okay.
But you can, like, let's say you're going to the beach or a new place and you want to discover the nature around, forage for what you think smells good, dry it, and then make a smudge stick out of it. So that's what we did today.
Is that what you're doing now? Before, of course, I'm sure laging sa studio, lights, makeup, hair, you know.
Yeah.
And then now, it's like you're spending a lot of time in the farm.
I know, I love it.
Was it healing for you? Do you
It
find
is,
Yeah, meditative?
except that it's very taxing physically. I mean, I'm not a spring chicken anymore, no? So I'm like squatting, digging, and but I find it so therapeutic. Except that when I go home, I'm like, oh my God, aches and pains all over. But I was thinking, this is the real exercise. I don't have to, you know, go to the gym and do squats and all that. If you read about or watch the Living to 100, not that I intend to, but a lot of the people, Blue Zones.
On Netflix, by the way.
Their exercise is like their daily life of activity. So, yeah. I
Kamusta
love
naman ang
farming.
puso mo?
Ano ba naman? Saan galing yan?
Wala lang. Teka, mag-milk tea muna ako habang makikichismis ako dito.
May time ba? Are you
I'm-
open? Is your heart
zero.
open to
There's zero.
possibilities?
Now there's zero, but I'm really enjoying being single. I'm an empty nester, you know.
You're Lola now.
And I'm
Yeah,
a
you're
Lola!
Lola.
Congratulations! I'm a brand new Lola!
Of which my brother pala is the doctor of the...
Oh, wow!
Your apo.
Yeah. Sophia is her name.
Okay, what about your
So
dogs?
beautiful.
You used to have like,
Yeah, I have 5.
You have so many.
I have many.
I know my mom's a fan of your Instagram account.
Really?
She'd be like, anong klaseng aso to?
I should
Aso ni
have
Cesar.
made an Instagram account nga for my dogs.
I know, they could have been cashing
Pero parang,
in.
oh my God, too much effort.
So happy heart. Happy heart.
Very happy, very full. Yeah, you don't, I don't think, well, I don't know. I don't want to say that.
How do you
You
feel?
don't need a partner to be full. I mean, you know, my mom was widowed very early in her life. I mean, she's 84 now. That must have been, 30 years ago. And she's had no partner ever since. And I wouldn't say my mom's lonely. So she's a good example for me. If it doesn't come, so what?
Yet, the netizens surely loved your ad. Well, how do you feel about the overwhelming response?
Amazed. I was so, this is the first time hardly anything negative was said about me. Really?
So it's non-controversial.
How you're, di ba, you're like priming yourself for
Backlash,
Yes.
Wala.
Wala. Baka bukas meron dahil sila, baka I invited it, di ba?
No, because I feel
it's
like, everybody could empathize with her when she was doing
Oh,
that. Parang ang
it's
tagal
so
namin gusto-
relatable.
Pwede ba, pinapalabas mo sa TV yun? Kasi marami toot.
No.
Hindi pwede, digital.
That's the point. But why naman will you want to,
Gretchen,
to make
ha?
it buo?
Hindi.
Diba?
Pwede ba yun sa TV?
Hi, Java! Oh my gosh!
Yan ang pampalis ng stress.
Oh, it's National Pet Day, by the way.
Oh my God, you're allowing dogs pala in
Yep,
the studio.
on the studio,
May
and even
special
on the
treatment
couch.
siya.
Java, up, dali.
Artista to eh. National Pet
Si
Day.
Gretchen
May
lang.
account to?
Get to
Meron.
Hello
Endorser.
there.
Tsaka may girlfriend siya.
Endorser to, like Mom says.
Oh, di ba? Well, on that note, magchichinghan pa kami. Pero unfortunately, that's all the time we have on air with you guys. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes,
course.
seasoned broadcast journalist /farmer /dogmom /lola.
Oh my
Ces
gosh,
Drilon.
look at Java posing with me. Aba.
Tsaka muna with Java Chip, ang napakasikat naming baby. But before we go, here's some news. Drag artist Pura Luka Vega has been arrested. Now this comes after complaints were filed against the artist for their controversial performance using the religious hymn Ama Namin and his impersonation of Jesus Christ. Police served the arrest warrant against the Pura Luka in Manila earlier today after failing to attend the preliminary investigation of the case, which is filed in the city of Manila. Pura, whose real name is Amadeus Pagante, faces charges for immoral doctrines, obscene publications, exhibitions, and indecent shows. Devotees of the Black Nazarene, the Hijos del Nazareno, filed a case against Pura over the viral performance. Now, a similar complaint against Pura was also filed by another group in Quezon City. But in a post on X, drag den creator Rod Singh said that Pura received no subpoena for the cases filed in the city of Manila. Unlike in Quezon City, where Pura has attended the preliminary investigations. Before these cases, Pura had also been declared persona non grata in several provinces, cities, and towns. Right, that's it for the show tonight.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.
Thanks for tuning in. Have a good night.